Hello and welcome to Mindset Kitchen, a show where I invite inspirational people to bring their 3 key mindset messages. I call them mindset ingredients, all whilst I'm cooking them one of their favorite meals. Hello, Tony.
Hello.
I have a pleasure to have Tony here today. You came all the way from Wimbledon, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you all enjoy today's session because Tony has brought amazing messages. I look forward to dig deeper into them and what's behind those messages. He's an extremely inspirational person. He's got a wonderful story. So hopefully we can scratch a bit of surface on that story that I've heard before. Very inspirational. And Tony has told me that he's doing some sort of health check or something, that it involves you avoiding certain foods. So he has given me 3 choices and I've chosen to make salmon salad. Actually, it's a trout salad. It's a trout, very similar, but it's a trout fillet. The reason I chose that because it's really light, refreshing, and I think I'm not going to go wrong and interfere with your, health check that you're currently doing. You said you like a little bit of chili, so I'll add some homemade chili for you.
Lovely.
And today, because we're having fish, to be honest, I have red wine and white wine with fish, it depends. So I've chosen something really light, Pinot Noir, organic wine. And I think Pinot you can drink during the day. It's a bit lighter than other red wines. So without further ado, I'm going to pour some for you. And then I'm going to read your first message. Also, you're probably wondering what is here.
Yes, looks fascinating.
So
and delicious.
So I thought, whilst I am making the food, or first we've been talking about the things, I'm going to show you and allow you to taste. This is edamame soup. It's Japanese, and it's served cold. So I made it last night and kept it in the fridge. All it has is onions, dashi stock, which made with bonito flakes and like a kelp, like a seaweed. You make that dashi like a stock, but just on the vegetarian, vegan side. You make the stock, then you fry some onions, and then you cook some edamame with the dashi, mix all together, and there is a little bit of sake and soy sauce in there, and that's it. I'll join with you. You can have a little taster and see what you think. Give it a try. It's almost like a drink. It's a drink, right? But you can serve it on the cold summer day. It's got a certain kick from the dashi, isn't it?
It's delicious.
Yeah. So whilst you're waiting for the salad to be made, you can do a little sampling of that. You would think there's more things in there, but the dashi, I think, that adds the really much stronger flavor that kind of complements the edamame beans, isn't it?
Lovely.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to read your first message and let's see what's behind the message. But I absolutely love this. The part can never be well unless the whole is well, and it's by Plato.
Yeah, Plato was a pretty clever guy, and I think that particular quote sums up everything, how the world is. One part of the world can't be okay unless the whole world is okay. One part of the body can't be okay unless the whole body is okay. And that relates obviously very closely to what I do and what I promote, which is holistic health. So if somebody's got a pain in the arm, for instance, we need to find out where it originates and ensure that the rest of the body is working as it should, because the pain will more than likely not just originate in the arm.
And I remember actually having a first call with you over Zoom, and I was talking about my headache, because I have a lot of chronic headache probably since I was 14 years old, and I'm still it's on my list to come to your clinic. And we were touching lots of interesting subjects about, let's say your arm aches, you take paracetamol or some sort of painkiller. You you cut yourself or something, you put some sort of thing. But actually, in essence, so many things originate already from some other source. Let's say if I exercise and I do certain routine, my knee would be hurting, but I'm pretty sure now that it's not actual knee hurting, it's the pain migrating from somewhere, isn't it? And it's finding those, addressing those, and finding where these things come from. It's a quite, investment, time consuming, because people think, oh, okay, well, I'll just take a painkiller, right? And it masks that pain, and that's it. But actually to find out what is actually hidden within you, it's a process, isn't it?
It is. And the body is made to heal itself, and always has done for thousands of years. It's only more recently that we humans have decided to mess around with Mother Nature and decide that we know better. Some medicine is very useful, it's good. Surgery is amazing. And what they can do with stem cell surgery and therapy now is absolutely fantastic. However, there's a downside to some of the more, how can I put it, regularly prescribed medicines. For instance, a large proportion of the population are on antidepressants. Lots of people are on painkillers. And sometimes people are on antibiotics for so long that they actually stop working and start to mess up their microbiome, which then creates another illness.
And when you say if one part is not well, your whole not well, and I think your mindset comes in here, because the depression, the painkillers and antidepressant tablets, it's I don't enjoy taking tablets, and I don't take tablets where I can avoid it. To have the mindset to believe that the tablets are not the ones that will actually help you. It's your mindset that will help you. And it's really, I think it's quite hard for people to believe certain things, unless, there are people like yourself who will hopefully tell me a story about yourself, where actually tablets are the ones that are causing more harm to us than healing us. Many cases, tablets and medicine is extremely powerful, as you say, but so many times there are things that Mother Nature gave us that we don't know about. And how do we know about it? How to go about it, I'm reading a book now. I'm not sure if you know Joey Dispenza.
Yes.
And of course, the way he talks about your mindset, you actually can cure yourself. And there's this woman at the beginning of the book, there's a story of this woman who had even a cancer. When actually her husband committed suicide, she stopped every medication and healed herself with the power of the mind. And I just found that incredibly fascinating. I want to do the same. I'm going to give a go with my chronic headaches, but I also would like to know a little bit about yourself. Like, how did it happen that you opened a clinic?
A lot of that was down to my background, and it happened over a long period of time. I had some health issues when I was younger. Well, I'm not even sure if they were actually health issues, but I was put on antidepressants at 15. I don't know if I actually was depressed at that time. I was probably just a normal teenager who's stroppy, asking difficult questions, being disobedient. And I ended up in a few detentions at school. And then after a while, it was decided that detention wasn't the way forward. There was something wrong with me. And so I was sent to the doctor, who then put me on antidepressants. And I stayed on those for 45 years.
45 years. Wow. Incredible. So you're no longer on those tablets. Tell me what's happened.
Well, I went on, a sort of journey through life. I left school, still on antidepressants, and I did a degree in psychology. I thought that would sort me out, sort my head out, and I'd be able to stop taking the pills. Life didn't quite work out like that, and I left university homeless and jobless. And when I finally got back on my feet, I was still apparently not in a good way. And each time a new drug came out, they said, well, we've got something better than the last one, so we'll put you on this. And I was encouraged to think that I'd be on these for the rest of my life. In my early 20s was the first time I was given electroconvulsive therapy. The idea of that was to shock me out of my depression. However, the way that I was not due to chemical imbalances in my brain. It was due to life circumstances. If you have a number of challenges in your life, then sometimes you're not going to be happy. You're going to be really, really challenged by those things, and you're going to need support and help from other people rather than a pill or electroconvulsive therapy.
Wow. And did you feel a huge difference after those therapies? And how did that open your mind, in a sense, what you were doing the 45 years and then the time when you actually were off your medication, and how different it was?
That's a really interesting question and quite difficult to answer because I've been on these things for so long. I didn't know what normal felt like anymore. And didn't really know what normal felt like until I came off everything 6 years ago. The other problem was that as I got older, I had back problems. I had a slip disc, sciatica, and arthritis. And they gave me some really heavy medication, tramadol and gabapentin, to help with the pain. That didn't work. After a while, they said, okay, we'll try something else. And they gave me some injections in the back as well.
Yeah.
And so I was taking injections in the back and painkillers and antidepressants.
Oh, wow.
And those things really should not probably be mixed up together. I then had a prostate issue, ended up on the floor unable to wee, and had to be taken to hospital. And they said, well, it looks like you have a prostate issue. We don't know if it's cancer. You have to have some biopsies. In the meantime, here's some pills. And at one point I said, what happens when you mix the antidepressants with the painkillers and the prostate pills? And they said, we don't know. And I think that was what started my mind thinking, what is going on?
It is, and it's amazing, isn't it? And to be honest, when I went to see the neurologist for my headaches, he gave me a pill that used to be used for depression. It's no longer used for depression, it's used for nerve pain. And I was very skeptical because I was hoping he would give me some sort of different method, but then I realized, well, what is out there? If I'm going to doctor, I'm expecting some sort of medical, medicine treatment. And I tried it and it felt absolutely horrible. It was giving me so many side effects that then what leads you to then look for other things that helps you with those side effects, isn't it? And that's how I think I wasn't doing that, but I could see that if I was taking something more serious, where side effects were much more debilitating, you would look to cover that up, and the cycle would continue. And the damage, the sheer damage that would do to your body, it's unbelievable.
I think that's, the word side effect is quite interesting because it makes it seem like it's
just nothing,
just
isn't
a
it?
side effect.
Yeah.
Whereas it's actually another illness created by the medication that you're initially given. Then sometimes you're given another medication to take away the side effect of whatever you started with, and then that produces another side effect, and so on. The way that I've explained this is like the nursery rhyme about an old lady who swallowed a fly, and then she swallows something else to catch the spider, I think it is, to catch the fly, and it carries on until she swallows a horse. She's dead, of course. And I think that's a perfect analogy of sometimes how the pharmaceutical path for some people can go. The other thing being that there is something called, I guess, iatrogenic illness or death, and it's caused by medication. And I think it's the third or fourth most prevalent cause of death. And again, that's something that's not widely talked about and something that not a lot of people know. But a lot of people are aware of the impact of some medication. And the other thing, obviously, is that with regard to medication, it's very difficult to sue a drug company for whatever that medication does to you.
Wow, it's extremely fascinating, isn't it? And the fact that you're sitting here and talking about this, it's a powerful message. But what do you think about wine?
It's lovely, very light.
Good. So before we continue on that subject, I'm just going to quickly tell you. So I mentioned you briefly the air fryer beforehand, and you said you were looking at the air fryers. I love air fryers because it's the heating itself. It's so compact, so the food cooks so much faster. So instead of putting on a pan without a lid, you frying and lots of oil. It's just very clean cooking without oil, and also cooks maybe 6-7 minutes and it's done. The same with chicken breast. Everything cooks so quickly. As I said, like I've not turned on the oven for 3 months when I got this, because I would take chicken and split into half. So I got double-sided, so you can use different temperatures. So you can cook one potatoes and one chicken on the other side, and everything cooked within 15-20 minutes. So it's a very quick dinner, very healthy. You need very little oil, and it's very clean as well. It's just all there, So thinking how healthy you are, I'm going to use the air fryer.
Wonderful. And it means that you don't have to use oven cleaning stuff, which
Exactly, yeah. And also, when you make 2 fillets, let's say for 2 people, you turn the oven, the gas gets heated up, so you use much more electricity or gas, much more costly. I think air fryer, I'm not promoting it, but air fryer is genius. I love it. I cooked an egg in there. I boiled an egg in there.
Really?
Yeah, because my kitchen was being renovated, so I didn't have a hob. I was like, I really want a boiled egg for breakfast. And I popped it in there on very low temperature for 9 minutes. It was runny boiled egg.
Fantastic.
Pretty genius. So let me set it up.
I'm going to have to investigate that further afterwards.
Definitely. And you can taste as well and see how it is. What's the flavor compared to the pan-fried. So we got now to the point where you telling about the clinic, and when you start doing all those treatments, I keep forgetting the name, Bioresonance.
That's right.
Yes, and it's a three treatments combined. Is that right? You got Bioresonance, then there's a red light.
Yep.
And there's one more. It's something with little...
Hyperbaric oxygen.
Yes, I will not pronounce that one. So all of those combined helped you with all the issues that you had.
The first one that helped was Bioresonance, which is what got me into it. That was because I had a property coach a long time ago, and he was very woo-woo. And as well as sending me lots of calculations to do every week to work out what return on investment was and so on, he said, look, I want you to read some books. And it was him that introduced me to books by Joe Dispenza, John DeMartini, lots of, as you'd call it, woo-woo stuff. But
I call it normal.
But a lot of that is based in science. Anyway.
Yes.
And so I started to read some of this stuff, and I went on a couple of Dr. John DeMartini's courses, and I thought, this is really interesting. Actually, I'm probably more interested in this than property. And that was sort of right from the beginning. And he encouraged me to carry on reading this stuff and getting further into self-development. And so when we left London to go and invest in property up north, I think the universe stepped in and said, you're not going to be doing this. We're in the middle of getting the first property, and there was a complication with creeping and flying freeholds. And that was when I ended up on the floor with the prostate issue.
Wow.
Now, because I was at the time taking about 24 pills a day.
24. It's a meal.
Yeah. I had this box with all the
Wow.
days of the week and different times of day for each of the tablets.
Wow.
And I was living life according to, well, what time is it now? What do I need to take now?
Yes.
And my coach said, you need to stop this. He said, I'm going to send you to see a friend of mine who's a kinesiologist. If you haven't come across a kinesiologist before, it's somebody who does something called muscle testing, which is testing your arm and asking you a number of questions.
Oh, wow.
The body can't lie. So if he asks me, is your name Tony Courtney Brown? I say, yes. Then it stays firm. If I say, or if he says, is it John Smith? No, and my arm will sink.
Okay, yeah.
You can't actually fool yourself, or the body, you can't fool it.
Yes.
And he said, bring all your medication down, which I did, in a big bag. And he tested me against everything in there. Nope, 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 your body doesn't like any of this.
Oh, wow, I see.
Stop taking it. Now, because I've been on all this stuff for so long, that panicked me a bit. And I thought, I can't, I've got to take these. I have to keep taking them.
Yes.
But he said, it's going to be uncomfortable. And please don't do this at home, folks. He gave me just some vitamins and minerals and said, have these and stop taking the pills, which I did. After some weeks of just shaking and sweating, I rang him up and said, I can't hack this. I need to go back on them. And he said, no, go and get some colonic irrigation to wash it out quicker.
Yeah.
So I went to see a lady who performed that for me. And she said, have you ever tried Bioresonance? And I said, no, what's that? I've never heard of it. And she sent me to go and see a practitioner. And I explained to him everything that I've been going through and the fact that I was now waiting to have a biopsy for my prostate. And he started treating me. I had about 3 treatments, and then I went for the first biopsy. And the consultant said, well, I don't know what's happening, but things seem to be evening out. Go away and come back and have another biopsy in a few weeks. Had some more bioresonance, came back, and he said, well, I don't know what's been going on, but he said, the good news is you haven't got cancer, and I'm discharging you back to your GP.
Wow.
Wow, that's a result. And I went back to the bioresonance practitioner and said, thanks for that. Now can you sort out my arthritis, sciatica, everything else? And he said, yeah, sure. And he did. And I was able to throw away all the pills. I dropped 2 stone, lost the pain, was able to go back to the gym. And I said, why don't people know about this?
Yes.
I said, not going to do property anymore. Get me with these devices and teach me how to use it. And that's how it started.
Wow. You know what? It's so beautifully that little chain of reaction when you actually decide to take an action, that one step towards one person, then one person introduced to another, and just goes on and on. It's all about taking that first step, that said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then you can see that you actually going slowly, and then you get to that space and place where you are now, with all the people who are giving you these, ideas and like, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Absolutely fascinating.
And that's where I think the universe or the woo-woo came in. How did those people just appear and guide me in that direction? I've no idea. And
that's why you hear meant to be guiding others.
That's probably the way it works.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. And your, private health journey. It's fascinating, and I'm having hope for my chronic headache now.
We'll sort it.
We will sort it out. That's it. The new year, the new Diana. Okay, so I've got a second message, and this is from Aldous Huxley, from the novel of Brave New World. Medical science has made such tremendous progress that there is hardly a healthy human left. Tell me about it. What made you choose this?
If you've ever read Brave New World,
no,
it's
I've never read
amazing.
it.
It's about how the world is divided into basically people who run the world and make the rules, and everybody else is more or less an automaton, a robot, and they're kept under control by having to take drugs every day. The drug in the novel is called soma. Soma, which of course means sleep. And so people are not aware of the reality of their lives because they are drifting through their lives on this drug. And when I saw that particular phrase from that book, I thought, if we're not careful as a society, that's the way that we're going to go. In America at the moment, I think probably, can't remember the exact figures, but a large proportion, probably about 20%, are on antidepressants of some sort.
Wow.
And the age from which they start is getting younger and younger. In this country, 8 million people a day take antidepressants.
8 million.
9 million take painkillers, and some take both.
Wow.
So that's the way that we are going if we're not careful.
Wow. And I guess it will never, we will never be off medication, because medication obviously serves also the right purpose as well, on many occasions. But it's about spreading the word and allowing people to know that there are other ways. There are many other ways. It requires a huge commitment as well. Like you said, you were actually shaking and, like, what is it called? Cold turkey.
Yeah.
Cold turkey, yes. You were shaking, feeling sweaty and cold, and it had to be a full commitment.
It would, but, again, people who are on medication don't go cold turkey. Go and talk to your doctor about coming
Yes, you
off
wouldn't just
or
do that.
reducing. Exactly.
Yes.
Be very clear about that, because it can be very dangerous if you do that.
And so what else is shared in the book from the second message around that?
I think the thing is that we're getting further and further from Mother Nature. The human body is made to heal itself. And if we listen to our bodies and obey universal laws and Mother Nature, we'll be fine. We'll be a lot better than we are at the moment. Also, we as a species always look for the easiest way to do anything.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if we need to lose weight, well, it's a bit of a slog, isn't it? You've got to watch what you eat, you've got to watch what you drink, you've got to exercise, and all these things are uncomfortable. It's far easier just to not change our lifestyle, sit in front of the TV and have a, ready meal or some fast food from the places that make it. But it doesn't do us any good in the end. Now, there is a better way, apparently, to lose weight, and that's with an injection.
I've never heard about it.
It's been quite widely publicized recently, and the injection will curb your appetite and help you lose weight very quickly.
Oh, wow.
However,
Sounds good.
sounds brilliant. However, if you stop taking the injection or the drug that does it, then you'll put that weight back on straight away.
Oh, okay.
So that means you're on it for life.
That's
Unless
extremely dangerous.
unless you think, actually, I'm going to do it the old way, then it's encouraging people to do it for life.
Yes, and you don't know what kind of damage it would cause you actually being on it for life, because it's not tested, isn't it? It's not, nobody's tested for life.
Nobody knows yet.
Tested for a month or 2 or 3, but not for life.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine if people really want to lose weight and they try it, it's quite addicting. So you quitting the medication is going to be really hard if you actually lost weight.
That's right. There are several aspects to that. There are possibly physiological aspects, similar to the shaking and the sweating. It might be very difficult to come off.
Yes.
Then there's the social issue. You know, if you stop taking it and you put weight back on, there's the embarrassment of people saying, oh, you know, you're putting your weight back on again.
Yes.
And people don't want to be put in that position. So, of course, the incentive is to carry on having it.
And pharmaceutical companies are having a party because people are just sitting on that drug, making money for them.
Yes.
I've heard, so you know my story. My husband died of cancer, and when he got cancer, I started looking into various other ways, not just chemo, that could help him. I've discovered loads of interesting things about pharmaceutical companies and all that, and that there are, not necessarily for his cancer type, but a simple, humble aspirin tablet actually could help quite a lot. And because it's so cheap, it's not being out there in the world being, you know, told that actually take this. If you take a little bit of a quarter of it, it's going to help you so much, rather than using these expensive drugs prescribed for you, actually do more damage than good. But because there is such a money grabbing way, and I was so shocked to find out that it's all about the money. You know, nobody really cares to save your life. They care to make money. You know, that's what I discovered when I was looking into deeply into the world of medicine, and you know, and how many things are actually hidden, that there are much more easier ways to get better, but there are cheaper ways. And
That must have been an awful shock after what you'd been through, when you start investigating and then you uncover things like that.
It's unbelievable, and it's I found various cases where they try to cover up because the drug actually works for certain type of disease, but it's not going to make any money, so we're going to destroy that evidence. That's what I was reading in the book. So some sort of, maybe could be linked to, you know, controversial conspiracy, however you want to call it, but there are people who wrote it, and people who are, you know, achieved in a certain area of health or medicine world, who wrote those articles. So you know, nobody knows about it. I guess we talked about the news this morning. This won't be on the news. That's why we need to talk about it. Because this won't be on my BBC News, you know, this morning, about talking about that there are other ways to help yourself, i.e. with the mind and with the natural, you know, ways that Mother Nature gave us.
There are. You know, I mean, we're supposed to be in the most technologically advanced society now, and yet illness is going through the roof, especially chronic illnesses. You know, diabetes, depression, heart disease, strokes. They're far more prevalent now than they have ever been. And you look at this and think, well, why? How is that occurring? And I think one of the main contributors towards this is what's in our water, what's in our food, and what's in the air. And you know, there are people who know and understand what the root cause of this is, but as you say, there's an awful lot of profit in keeping people sick. So if we look at food, for instance, 25% of 10-year-olds are obese in this country now.
Wow.
25%. When I was at school, there might have been one guy in the class who was overweight. That was about it, but not 25%. So what's changed between then and now? I'm not that old, am I?
No, not at all.
But a lot has changed in that time. And that's down to food. Hippocrates is widely acknowledged as the father of medicine. And he said, let food be thy medicine, which is absolutely right. But the food that we have now isn't food to a large extent. It's full of additives, pesticides, all kinds of stuff. And that is what's making people ill. Seed oils, which are used for fast foods, have a really negative effect on the human body. That's what's contributing to obesity, both in youngsters and older people. additives, flavouring, colouring, all this stuff is added to what we eat now. If you, I don't know, see perhaps on television these people spraying crops and they're wearing like hazmat suits and masks and
Yes.
everything, and they're spraying crops
Yeah.
with pesticides and herbicides, and you're looking at that and you're thinking, if they're dressed up like that, from head to toe covered and with masks, to spray something that we're eventually going to eat, that's not going to do us any good.
No. And that's the thing, that's another angle that you brought up, because actually originally Mindset Kitchen was born because I love eating good food, and as much as I can I look for clean, fresh, organic ingredients, but as we know, organic ingredients are extremely costly.
Yes.
And not everyone can afford to go and buy free-range birds, free-range vegetables, so organic vegetables, very expensive, and if you're buying for the whole family, it's impossible, right? So it's when I learned that actually after looking at the labels, and it's quite a process, because I had to read, as you said, what oils is being used. Is it saturated, processed, and what chemicals are there, and not understanding a single word that says on the label. And I would go and look at my phone, what are these stabilizers and all these little things mean, and so then I stopped kind of buying pre-made sauces and stuff. I started learning how to make my own, mayonnaises and chili sauce, things that you can actually make very easily at home. The problem with that is it doesn't last long, and then you realize, oh, so why does it last so long? 3 months, 6 months, a year, ketchup in the fridge, because it has those bad ingredients. But I guess it all comes to balance. You can spray some ketchup and eat with your fries. If you don't make it, like everything is produced outside of your home, and if you be more mindful at what you're eating and where you're shopping, it doesn't have to be constantly those ingredients, those particular things, right? You can find the balance, because in this world there's no way you can, unless you're a millionaire, you have your own private chef, there's no way you can avoid all of those things. Even with all the money in the world, you probably still will not be able to avoid, because as you said, the air we breathe, how we feel, how many hours we slept, everything, the stress and all sorts of things affect our health eventually. And I guess to pay attention at your health, it's a full-time job, I think.
It is, increasingly so. And what you're talking about with regard to the food that we buy now. If you go to the supermarket, food is often wrapped up in plastic. It has preservatives, as you say. That's why it can stay on the shelf for a long time, and you go and look at it and think, oh, okay, that's all right. What's the sell-by date? Yeah, we'll have that. And it's wrapped in plastic, and after a while the plastic seeps into the food, along with all the preservatives and whatever else is in it. And again, these have a negative effect on the body. And as you say, it's really difficult to get away from it unless you have unlimited resources. Before, I suppose, food became an industry, and before all these ultra-processed foods came into being, our bodies could detox the stuff that it didn't need and didn't do us any good. We could get rid of it. Now, I was reading recently, about 57% of the American diet, I don't know what it's like here, is ultra-processed food. Burgers and stuff like that. Now, that is having a massive effect. It's predicted that by 2050, 85% of Americans will be obese. 85%.
Wow. That's incredible. Yeah.
Due to the diet, largely.
Yeah.
And then when you add to that the opioid addiction crisis that they've got, along with that, and you just think,
where are we going?
People are going to be unhealthy, physically, mentally, and weak. Physically and mentally. Unless people start to look into what's happening and take responsibility themselves. And we have to do that because Nobody's going to do it for us. You went through an awful life situation to find out how things work and what's real and what's true and what isn't. To a lesser extent, I went through some stuff and it opened my eyes and thought, something's not quite right here. And I think I'm an optimist in this respect. I think that more people, particularly when you put out shows like this, are going to start to join the dots and think, maybe everything that we've been told isn't true, and maybe there's another way.
I like that, exactly. And I think there is another way. And I think it all starts within yourself, wanting to find that other way. And as soon as you place it out there, I know, like, for example, myself, I know there is a way for me to get rid of this headache. I know. I just don't know what it is, but I'll find a way. And if I have that certain conviction and belief in my head, I know I will achieve that one day. And I'm pretty sure then you guys will know when I have no more headache. So talking about food, I was like, okay, I'm just thinking, where did I get my avocado from? Talking about the food, I mean, today's salad is extremely healthy, right? And hopefully when I was shopping, when I shop for everything, there are certain different shops that I have to go to, because some shops don't have certain things, and some shops have something, let's say they have a cucumber, but that's not all the cucumbers are soft and so on. So I'm putting a lot of thought around the food, and I guess it became part of me, and that's why I launched the show, because I am cooking all the time. I've noticed majority of the times on the show, I don't cook as well as I cook behind the cameras. It's probably all the pressure and I'm all learning and it's still new, but it became my life. And then in turn, I want to kind of introduce to people that you don't have to know how to cook really well. It's just that, again, wanting to change a little bit, change a bit of your diet, or show your children that you can make things really simply at home. So like this salad, it actually wouldn't take any longer than 15-20 minutes, but we are talking here and I'm taking time. What I'm going to do now is going to mix the sauce. It's one of my favorite dressings. So in here, I have soy sauce and rice vinegar. I use soy sauce and rice vinegar for so many cookings. I actually cook a lot with Japanese condiments as such, and it introduced so many nice flavors, and you don't need many things. Extra virgin olive oil, little concoction in here going in. I prepared earlier. Some sesame oil, brown sugar, take a spoon, and here we have ginger and garlic. Ginger garlic combination is one of my favorite. I use a lot in tofu cooking, and yeah, it's brilliant.
It's very healthy.
Yeah, it's good. I use ginger lemon every time I get unwell. Ginger lemon tea.
Yeah,
it helps me with my throat, with my cough. And yeah, and simple as that. I sometimes prepare this, and I use this over the course of a few days on my fish, on my chicken, on tofu. Yeah, very simple.
It's fantastic. You must give me the recipe.
I will. It's online. It's not. I'm not recreating the wheel. Isn't it? Not creating the wheel here. Not recreating anything. It's all online. I will be sharing this on my blog, so I'll add the link where you can get the recipe. And you can pretty much make it with anything you have in the fridge, to be honest. Sometimes I put the char grilled broccoli in the salad. I put like a marinated onion. Sometimes I marinate them in rice vinegar with ice cubes. It extracts that enzyme that kind of gives me heartburn. So I get a lot of heartburn from foods like onion, tomatoes. So when I marinate the onion enzyme, like one of the enzymes, and nutritionists and then obviously doctors would know, it gets killed by the cold and the vinegar. And then when you eat it raw, it doesn't upset my tummy as much.
Great.
Yeah, so you can add so many different ingredients in the salad. It's pretty basic, I would say, but at the same time, the basic is the key, I think, in the food that you eat, isn't it? So what you see is what you get, rather than things that you don't see and what's going on in there.
It's a very important point, because so much food now that you buy commercially is just made for the taste. You know, and there are people beavering away in white coats, you know, testing, putting all kinds of different stuff in to make the taste different. But the stuff that they're putting into that is, goodness knows what it is. But those things that they're putting in are going to have a detrimental effect, and also so many of them are addictive. You know, why is so much food that's not good for us, why does it taste so damn good?
Tell me about it.
And again, as a species, we have to get back to eating to live as opposed to living to eat. And I think that that has shifted over time. And so now we eat because it just tastes good, rather than I'm hungry, my body needs nutrients, I'm going to eat. And maybe what you're eating is not as delicious as something that you might get from a takeaway, but it'll do you a lot more good.
And you know what I noticed? If I'm on holiday and I'm eating more processed food, you know, I go to Spain and I love various charcuterie that they have, and it's only you would notice those differences in your body and the different cravings when you actually eat that balanced diet. So if you're at home eating quite healthy, lots of greens, proteins, carbs, everything is balanced, you go away for a week and I feel craving just for a lettuce leaf when I come home. I'm like, if I just could eat, like I go to the shop and I get some fish, salad, just sprinkle over with olive oil, lemon juice. That's all I want, because my body is saying, I need this. And the craving is unreal. It's like, I have to have that. But if you eat lots of takeaways or processed foods that quick for you, you know, you put in the microwave, you will not notice that subtle difference. And your body will crave just that because it doesn't know anything else what to crave. And I guess in the world we're living, it's so much, people are stressed, working hard. You need fast and quick, and it's a commitment. It's a hard work on its own to just look after your diet. So in a way, who can change us is ourselves.
Absolutely. And because we want the speed and the convenience, you know, if you're working hard, haven't got not many hours in a day to do stuff, you go to the supermarket or whatever, and you think, oh, that's low fat, so I'll have that version of whatever it is. That's probably one of the worst things that you can do. Yeah. But again, it comes back to how effectively things are marketed. And so-called health foods are often not healthy at all. And it comes back to what you were saying. Look at what's on the ingredients. If it's got stuff that you can't pronounce, or stuff you don't recognize, or stuff you've never seen before, it probably isn't going to do you any good.
Exactly. It comes down to that education point as well, and willingness to know. And it's extremely hard, I think, unless you invested and interested in that. And in the same way, I would rather have a pure full-fat butter, because this is a couple of ingredients, you know, how buttercream and it's quickly mixed and it's done. But if you have margarines and low fat, there's so much process happened in it. So it's, in a sense, if we can use our logic, the more unnatural ingredient would be low fat, less salt, taken out from actually just what should have the normal amount of salt. It tells you that it's gone through the process. And
that's absolutely right. I mean, when I was a youngster, there was a big thing about margarine rather than butter. Now that we know what's in margarine and we know how it's made, and it's got all kinds of stuff in it that is not made for the human body to consume, but again, it's not advertised. We now know, if you look into it, that full-fat natural butter is better than margarine. Yeah. But at that time and in those days, it was really pushed hard. You know, butter's bad for you, it'll increase your cholesterol and so on and so on. And then there's this thing about cholesterol. You know, avoid this, it's got cholesterol. Now, there is good and bad cholesterol. And the thing is that we need a certain amount of it. But when we're told, you know, you've got to avoid it because your cholesterol is going to go up, And then all of a sudden we see that people are being told that they've got high cholesterol, but there is something called a statin, which will help with that. Now, once people are put on statins,
Yeah.
again, how long do they stay on those for, and what is the long-term impact? Now, I understand that, as I've said previously, I'm not totally against medicine. My mother was a nurse in the National Health for over 30 years. My father-in-law was an old-fashioned doctor. He used to have a little black bag, and he did things called home visits,
Oh, yes.
which are unheard of now.
Yeah.
But that's what I was brought up with. However, as I said, there is a darker side to that, which needs to be brought out and shown to people so that we can make a choice and hopefully make the best choice for our own health, rather than be duped into stuff by marketing or told things that aren't true.
I agree to that. Well, hopefully we are just joining in and sending a little bit of a message to people. There are other ways than just medication. And yeah, on that note, we leave it, because you know what? We could talk about it forever. We clearly hit something that me and you are passionate about, and I'm extremely passionate about that. And I try as much as I can, but I said I succumb to a little takeaway there and then. And I think it's all about that balance.
It is.
And understanding it.
80-20 is
Exactly, 80-20. Yes.
Yeah.
I have a cheat day. Fridays or Saturdays.
Yeah.
It's my cheat day. And the same with wine. Let's say me and Tony will not have 3 bottles yet and just end up with late evening. No, I think having a glass of wine or 2, it's a balance. Towards the end of the week, of special occasions, everything with balance, I find it keeps me in check and keeps me healthy and makes me feel good. As soon as I go out of balance, let's say I love my wine and I'm on holiday and I may have a bit more than I normally would, headache, tiredness, fatigue, I can't sleep. You notice all of those things. So it's a making decision what works best for you and sticking to that. And then your body really tells you.
It does, if we listen. But I think that's the thing, over time, we become accustomed to not listening to it and just ignoring it and carrying on. And when we stop listening, then we lose the ability to listen and we get further and further down the wrong road.
Yes.
And as you say, it's a question of keeping things in balance so that we are aware of when the body's saying, actually, we're not having that today. You're going to go for a run, or you're going to do something else, or do something to get back on track. Because you've been on holiday, you've been putting all sorts of stuff in yourself, staying up late, not sleeping enough and so on, not drinking enough water, and your body's saying, come on, get back in balance.
Yeah. And just listening to that body, and it's taking me some time to listen to my body. I think when I was younger, I was ignoring lots of things. Now I'm listening to my body and just going with the flow, whatever my body really says.
Yeah.
So your third message is quite a few things in there. I'll read it with my accent. Very interesting. And at the end, you put Tony Courtney Brown. So I want to know, is that your message? Is that coming from somewhere you? So take the rough with the smooth. Life is working for you. Look for the good in everything. The body and the world are always seeking balance. For every action, there is a reaction. Geopolitics, health, economics. Tony Courtney Brown. What is the message?
That the world is always seeking to balance itself out. And for every action, there is a reaction. There are all kinds of crazy, not good things going on in the world at the moment with regard to geopolitics, and wars and things like that. On one hand, in a war, somebody might claim that they're the victors or the victim. And again, there'll be victors, victim. Those who are feeling oppressed or those who know that they're oppressing. Always balance.
Yeah.
An atrocity gets committed over here, people suffer. The people who committed the atrocity are celebrating. Always balances. Whilst we're hearing an awful lot about the wars which are going on at the moment, they've been going on since the beginning of humankind. It's just that not all of them are publicised. For instance, in Africa, there have been wars going on for years and years, which are not publicised. Same in other parts of the world. It's only when it comes nearer to home that those things affect people and get people involved. With regard to economics, obviously there are some people extremely rich, and I was doing some research on this the other day. Overall, the top 1% or richest 1% of the world owns 63% of its resources.
Oh, wow.
Which is sort of crazy.
Yeah, I never knew about that. Yeah.
In this country, the richest 1% own 25% of the resources.
Wow.
So there's huge imbalance there. And what happens if that kind of inequality continues for a long time is that there'll be a correction at some point, i.e. people will rebel, there'll be a war, something will happen to bring things back into balance. Or there'll be different legislation, which is some people will accept and others will rebel against. There is always this counterbalance. It's the same in health. We're talking about natural health, and the pharmaceutical companies will be pushing their stuff. Again, balance.
Yeah. We need more of you, I think, to find that balance, because I think currently pharmaceutical companies, by the sounds of it, winning. So the more we speak about it, the more we find that balance, because as you said, there never be one side diminished and disappeared completely. I guess the whole world needs to be destroyed and restart again for it to happen. So essentially it will always be here, but finding that balance. So both sides are balancing, and usually the good one should be really winning more. But what is the good one, and who thinks which one is good?
Well, I mean, with health, I'd like to see a balance. And, what we want to introduce certainly in our clinic is integrated medicine, where you have the best of both.
I see, yes.
So we do have some good people. There are some very good doctors who are working with us and who understand the natural side of things. And I think that the number of those doctors is increasing to some extent.
Amazing, yeah.
Which is fantastic, and again gives me cause for optimism. There's a lady, Dr. Debbie Eastwood. I don't know if you've come across her.
I've heard, but I wouldn't know what to say. But I've heard somewhere, and I've read perhaps in one of the articles or blogs or something like that.
She's somebody who is going to be working with us, as she shares the same outlook.
Yeah.
There are also some local doctors to us who share a similar outlook. And so I believe that there is hope. One of the doctors local to us is a great believer in social prescribing.
And what is social prescribing?
For instance, if a lot of people or a number of people have depression, he just puts them together and says, right, we're going for a walk.
Oh,
and you
wow.
go out for a walk in nature together.
That's incredible. Never heard of this.
Then you sit down, have a chat and a cup of tea afterwards, share experiences and support each other. And, we are hopefully going to be working with him in future, again, to create a different kind of environment where people share experiences, support each other, and don't need as many pills and things.
I agree. You know what? Because if you have someone walking with you in the nature, let's say, as you described, sharing each other's hurdles and pains, agreeing together to do something that makes it almost easier to do. So you're like, okay, he or she doing, I'm doing it, let's do this together. So let's say we decide to stop this medication now, we're talking to doctors, we're looking at other ways. So you're almost forming that connection and that team who actually will make it easier for you. So it's a great idea.
Absolutely. I mean, where I live, we get cards through the door saying there's a walk Saturday morning.
Ah,
You know, go out on Wimbledon Common, a group of people,
yeah,
don't know each other, and just chat.
I love
And have a
that.
cup of tea at the end of the walk.
Yes.
You know, and walk in nature. You know, looking at the trees, the leaves, the animals, and that has a profound effect on people's mental health.
I
And
can
also,
imagine, yeah.
it helps with loneliness, which is one of the biggest causes of mental illness as well.
Yes,
To say, look,
exactly.
come and join us, come and have a chat and a walk. You know, Mother Nature's known this for ages, but, you know, no, we decide that we're clever and we've got something better to do. You know. And I'm
that's
really
amazing.
enthused by the change and the way that things could be going.
You know what? I'm just feeling quite excited because I would love those kind of walks. I would love people, like-minded people, or people from some sort of walk of life that connects them, i.e., in that case, is that particular illness. And I'm pretty sure there are walks going on, perhaps people having, you know, coffees and so on. And at school, for example, I have my son's moms meeting up, and I'm sure all those little connections will always uplift you, will always open the door a bit wider into something else out there.
Yes.
And I think the more you put yourself out there, with not just even the disease and illness, it's connections and networks, and then actually you grow. You know, there's no way you're not going to grow.
Yes.
It's not going backwards. You're always going to go forward, and you're always going to meet people who will bring something into your life, and vice versa.
Absolutely true. And when I was at the lowest point of my life, when I tried to take my life, a lot of that was because I did not have anyone to pick the phone up to.
Yeah.
I didn't have a neighbour I could go and knock on the door of. I just felt completely alone and isolated. And that really was the thing that pushed me over the edge. You know, there were the bills and the repossession notices and
Yeah.
disconnection notices as well.
Wow.
But the main thing was that, you know, it was Christmas. I could hear people next door having a party, and there were people there all gathered together, and I'm sitting there on my own. Whereas being on your own when you don't want to be is one of the most difficult things and possibly dangerous things in some instances.
Exactly. Wow. Thank you for sharing that and for being so open and honest. Thank you, Tony. I've made a salad.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
It looks a lot, but it's all goodness and green. So I'm going to show you. So this is a fillet of trout, just slightly grilled. It can be grilled in the oven, pan fried. I've done it in the air fryer. On a bed of leaves with the sauce that I've made earlier, edamame beans, avocado, spring onion, some coriander, and some crispy onions on the side just to add a different texture. And there is some tomatoes and radish. Simple as that. Hopefully, Tony,
Gosh.
you will enjoy. You can
Thank
give
you.
a little taster, and I still want to ask a few more things, especially about your clinic and what is it called? When do you go there? Do I have to have a pain? Can I just come anyway to you know, kill my curiosity because I'm so curious? So just tell a little bit more.
Sure. People tend to book an appointment. We have a website and contact us via the website, and it will start with you filling in a form and saying what your issue is, and then I'll ring you and we just have a phone consultation to start with, and from that I will glean what I think might be the issue, and then I'll ask the person, because often they have several issues. They say, okay, what's the biggest one? What's the number one issue that you want to address? And then we talk about that for a little bit. Then I'll ask them in. And then depending on what it is that they say that their issue is, we do a number of things. One is possibly give them a scan, an energetic scan,
Oh, wow.
which is like a natural version of an MRI.
Oh, wow.
And what that will do is pick up your resting heart rate, and it will scan your body and pick up where the biggest energetic imbalances are or disturbances, and that will pinpoint where it's originating from. Other times, and particularly after COVID, sometimes people have psychological issues and they just want to talk. Or some people might have substance abuse issues arising from that period, or family issues, or whatever, and they just want someone to talk to. And so that's part of the service that we provide as well.
Incredible. Thank you so much. And what is it called?
Total Body Health, based in Wimbledon Village.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tony. I'm going to put all the details of the address and the place on mindsetkitchen.co.uk, together with Tony's salad that I've taken the recipe from someone else, but you will see the link to their website. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing me and Tony chat about all things health, balance, food. Hopefully there will be someone who, this message reached through and helps out. I'm sure you can contact Tony when you see the details and have any questions. He's extremely friendly and approachable guy. He would be, you would love to talk to someone. Even you don't have to come. You could arrange
Absolutely.
a Zoom call,
Sure.
perhaps to discuss any issues you may have. But I'm definitely visiting your clinic because I already planned to go, and I filled the form and everything. The life took over, but now I have to. It's a must on my list. So hopefully I will experience all the good things that will happen afterwards. And hopefully you enjoy the show. I had a huge pleasure having you here, Tony. It's a particularly interesting topic of mine. I love talking about health and body, and that's why the kitchen really is there to connect the food you eat with the mind and really live your best life. And this was a very inspirational person to have in my kitchen. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you, everyone.